Guard your time like gold. It's the only thing you can't get back. Time is the most valuable resource you will ever possess, far more valuable than money, possessions, or opportunities. Money can be lost and made again. Opportunities can disappear and reappear, but time, once gone, is gone forever. That's why people who achieve extraordinary results treat their hours, minutes, and even moments with the highest respect. They understand that life is simply a collection of days. Days are a collection of hours, and hours are a collection of choices. If you waste the hours, you waste the days. Waste enough days, and you waste a life. Many people don't truly grasp this until they've lost years doing things that didn't matter, spending their most productive energy on distractions, and postponing dreams until someday, a day that often never comes. Highly effective people operate with the awareness that time is the currency they spend every day, and every decision about how to spend it is either an investment or an expense. They do not casually give it away to people or activities that don't align with their priorities. They decline invitations that serve no purpose. They step away from endless scrolling, and they avoid getting caught up in trivial conflicts, because they know the cost is not just the moment lost, but also the momentum broken. When you start valuing your time like gold, you begin to view your schedule differently. You stop thinking in terms of "I'm just killing time," because killing time is killing life. You start protecting the first hours of your day for your most important work instead of giving them away to emails, social media, or someone else's agenda. You start asking yourself, is this the highest and best use of my time right now? This one question alone can change your life. It forces you to become intentional. You stop operating on autopilot and begin choosing deliberately. You might realize that many things that feel urgent are not actually important, and many things that are truly important don't feel urgent until it's too late. Effective people understand this and structure their days so that the important gets done before the urgent can take over. Guarding your time also means being selective about the people you allow to consume it. There are people who will waste your time not because they are bad, but because they have no sense of direction themselves. They wander through life, and if you're not careful, they'll take you wandering with them. It's not about being cold or unkind. It's about understanding that you cannot allow someone else's lack of discipline to become your problem. Your time is your life, and no one should live it for you. This doesn't mean you can't be generous with your time, but generosity is only valuable when it's intentional. Giving your time to help someone, to teach, to mentor, or to serve a worthy cause is an investment. But spending hours in meaningless conversations that go nowhere, in relationships that drain you, or in obligations you only accepted to avoid guilt, that's not generosity, that's self-sabotage. Another part of guarding your time like gold is understanding that not all busyness is productivity. A person can be busy all day and achieve nothing that matters. Highly effective people learn to distinguish between activity and accomplishment. They focus on results, not just effort. This means they might say no far more than they say yes. They realize that every yes is also a no to something else. Say yes to too many low-value activities, and you'll have no room for the high-value ones. They filter opportunities through their goals. If something doesn't move them toward their vision, it doesn't get their time. And they're unapologetic about it because they know the price of distraction is far greater than most people realize. Guarding your time requires discipline, and discipline requires a vision worth protecting. When you have no clear direction in life, it's easy for anyone or anything to pull you off course. But when you know where you're going, you naturally become protective of your hours. You recognize that every moment spent in alignment with your goals moves you closer, and every moment wasted pushes you further away. This is why effective people often seem so focused. They're not trying to do everything. They're trying to do the right things. They have learned the art of prioritization. They don't get seduced by every new opportunity, trend, or invitation. They evaluate each one based on how it fits into their larger purpose. You can think of your time like a bank account. You never see the balance of you only know that one day, without warning, the account will be empty. Every day you withdraw 24 hours. How you spend it determines what your life looks like. Spend it wisely, and you build a life rich in meaning, relationships, and achievements. Spend it carelessly, and you wake up years later wondering where it all went. The danger is that time doesn't announce when it's being wasted. It slips away quietly. Minutes lost to distraction rarely feel like a big deal in the moment, but over years, those minutes add up to months and even years of lost potential. The truth is, people will value your time at the level you value it yourself. If you allow people to interrupt you constantly, they'll keep doing it. If you allow others to dictate your schedule, they'll fill it with their priorities, not yours. But when you make it clear that your time matters through your actions, boundaries, and discipline, people begin to respect it. They approach you with more intention. They come to you prepared, they don't waste your time, and they understand that when they get a piece of your day, it's something valuable. This respect not only improves your productivity, it changes your relationships. People take you more seriously when you take your own time seriously. And remember, guarding your time doesn't mean working non-stop. It means being intentional with all of it, including rest. Effective people understand that rest is not wasted time. It's an investment in future performance. They schedule recovery just as deliberately as they schedule work. They know that exhaustion leads to poor decisions, and poor decisions lead to wasted time. Protecting your time includes protecting your energy so that when you do work, you work well. Once you begin to guard your time like gold, something else happens. You start appreciating the time of others more, too. You arrive on time. You end meetings on time. You don't drag conversations past their point. You become efficient because you understand the value of the currency you and everyone else are spending. This not only makes you more effective, it earns you trust, respect, and influence. People want to work with those who respect their time because time is life, and to value someone's time is to value their life. Plan tomorrow before tomorrow begins. Success is rarely the result of waking up and simply reacting to whatever comes your way. Highly effective people understand that the most productive days start before the sun rises. In fact, they start the night before. Planning tomorrow ahead of time gives you direction, focus, and control over your actions. Without a plan, you drift, pulled in every direction by distractions, interruptions, and the urgent demands of others. With a plan, you set the tone. You decide what matters when it matters and how much of your time it deserves. Instead of starting your day with uncertainty, you begin with clarity. That clarity eliminates wasted motion. You're no longer deciding what to do while the clock is already ticking. You're acting on decisions already made. When you plan ahead, you begin each day with momentum. There's no warm-up period spent wondering where to start. You dive right in. This alone puts you ahead of most people because the first hour of the day is often the most wasted. Many people spend it reacting to emails, scrolling through their phones, or chatting aimlessly before they really get going. By the time they find their rhythm, a significant portion of the day is gone. Planning ahead allows you to protect that first, most powerful hour for your most important work. This is when your mind is freshest, your energy is highest, and your focus is sharpest. If you use that hour intentionally, you set a productive tone for the rest of the day. The act of planning itself has benefits beyond organization. It forces you to think about your priorities. It makes you ask, what are the most important outcomes I need tomorrow? What actions will move me closer to my long-term goals? What can I delegate, and what must I personally handle? These questions sharpen your thinking. You stop confusing motion with progress. You stop filling your schedule with you tasks just to feel busy. Instead, you create a day designed for results, not just activity. Planning tomorrow before it begins also helps you anticipate challenges. If you know you have a meeting at noon, you can plan to get critical tasks done in the morning. If you see that your schedule is overloaded, you can move or cancel something before the chaos begins. Without this foresight, you end up running from task to task, reacting to problems instead of preventing them. Effective people understand that prevention is far less costly than correction. They look ahead, identify obstacles, and make adjustments before those obstacles derail them. Another advantage of planning ahead is mental preparedness. When you go to bed knowing exactly what you'll do in the morning, your mind begins working on those tasks subconsciously. You wake up with ideas, solutions, and a sense of readiness. Compare this to waking up without a plan, scrambling to figure out where to start, while your energy leaks away in indecision. That early loss of focus can set the tone for an unproductive day. Planning is like giving your future self a head start. The process doesn't have to be complicated. Some people prefer to write out a detailed schedule with time blocks for every activity. Others simply make a short list of their top priorities. The format matters less than the intention behind it. The key is to make decisions about tomorrow while you're calm, not while you're in the middle of it. When you're in the middle of the day, emotions, urgency, and distractions cloud your judgment. When you plan ahead, you're thinking clearly and strategically. Planning ahead also builds discipline. At first, it may feel unnecessary. You might think, I know what I need to do, I'll just do it. But without a written plan or a clear structure, it's easy for urgent but unimportant tasks to creep in and steal your time. Over time, as you make planning a habit, you begin to notice how much more you get done. You begin to rely on it, not because you're rigid, but because you've experienced the chaos of going without it. This discipline extends into other areas of your life, your finances, your health, your relationships, because the principle is the same. Foresight beats reaction. Planning tomorrow before it begins also allows you to align short-term actions with long-term goals. It's easy to get trapped in the cycle of urgent tasks and forget about the big picture. When you plan ahead, you can intentionally include actions that move you closer to your larger vision. You can make sure that every day, no matter how busy, contains at least one meaningful step toward your bigger objectives. Without this, weeks can pass in a blur of activity with little progress where it matters most. It's worth noting that a good plan includes flexibility. Life will always throw surprises your way, unexpected calls, emergencies, or sudden opportunities. The purpose of planning is not to create a rigid schedule that collapses when disrupted. The purpose is to give you a framework that keeps you anchored, even when the day doesn't go as expected. Effective people adapt without losing sight of their priorities. They can shift tasks around without abandoning the core objectives of the day. This is why they focus on setting priorities rather than filling every minute with tasks. Priorities guide decisions when circumstances change. Planning also has an emotional benefit. Knowing what you'll do tomorrow reduces stress and anxiety. You go to bed with a sense of order instead of feeling overwhelmed by uncertainty. You wake up with a sense of direction instead of being pulled into other people's agendas. This sense of control over your time is empowering. It gives you confidence that you are steering your life rather than being steered by it. That confidence builds with each day you follow through on a plan you made in advance. One of the most important parts of planning tomorrow is deciding what not to do. A to-do list without a not-to-do list is incomplete. Effective people understand that every day has limited capacity. They know they can't do everything, so they make conscious choices about what to ignore, postpone, or delegate. This focus keeps them from scattering their energy across too many directions. It also protects them from burnout, because they are working on the most important things instead of trying to handle everything at once. Making planning a nightly ritual transforms it from a task into a lifestyle. It becomes as natural as brushing your teeth before bed. You spend a few minutes reviewing the day you just completed, noting what worked and what didn't. Then you set your top priorities for tomorrow, block out time for them, and decide how you will handle potential distractions. This small investment of time pays enormous dividends in productivity, effectiveness, and peace of mind. Over time, it becomes clear that the habit of planning tomorrow before it begins is not just about organizing your schedule, it's about taking ownership of your life and deciding, in advance, how you will spend the most valuable resource you have. Never stop learning. School ends, self-education doesn't. Formal education might give you the foundation, but the real building of your life comes from what you continue to learn after the classroom. The world changes too quickly for anyone to rely solely on what they learned years ago. Industries evolve, technology advances, opportunities shift, and new challenges appear. Those who keep learning stay relevant, adaptable, and valuable. Those who stop learning eventually find themselves outdated, holding onto methods and mindsets that no longer work. Highly effective people understand this and treat learning as a lifelong responsibility, not a short-term requirement. They feed their minds the same way they feed their bodies, consistently, deliberately, and with quality material. They know that if they're not growing, they're falling behind, because the pace of change doesn't slow down for anyone. Continuous learning isn't limited to formal courses or certifications. It can come from books, podcasts, seminars, mentors, conversations, experiences, and even failures. The key is to stay curious. Curiosity is the spark that fuels growth. When you're curious, you ask questions, you seek understanding, you challenge assumptions, including your own. This attitude keeps you from becoming rigid. It allows you to see new possibilities where others see dead ends. It helps you spot opportunities before they're obvious to everyone else. Curiosity makes you more resourceful, and resourcefulness is one of the most valuable traits you can develop. Self-education also allows you to take control of your direction. In school, the curriculum is set for you. In life, you set it yourself. You decide what to study, what to master, and what to improve. This is empowering because it means you can shape your own expertise instead of waiting for someone to tell you what's important. You can focus on skills that give you a competitive advantage in your work, that deepen your relationships, or that enhance your quality of life. You can learn about money management, communication, leadership, problem solving, or creativity, all areas that impact success, but are rarely covered in traditional schooling. The people who get ahead in life are often those who invested time in learning skills that others neglected. One of the challenges of lifelong learning is that it requires discipline. When you're in school, deadlines and exams force you to keep studying. In self-education, there's no teacher to push you. You must be your own teacher and your own student. This means setting aside time for learning even when you're busy. It means reading when you could be scrolling, listening to an audiobook during your commute instead of mindless noise, or taking a course in the evenings instead of watching television. It's easy to say you'll learn when you have time, but effective people know you have to make time. Learning becomes a priority, not an afterthought. Another advantage of constant learning is that it keeps your mind sharp. Just as physical exercise strengthens your body, mental exercise strengthens your thinking. Reading, problem solving, and exploring new ideas stimulate your brain and keep it active. This mental agility helps you adapt when circumstances change, and it improves your decision-making because you have a wider base of knowledge to draw from. You see patterns and connections that others miss. You can evaluate situations from multiple perspectives, and when challenges arise, you're better equipped to handle them because you've invested in expanding your understanding. Learning also builds confidence. The more you know, the more capable you feel. This confidence isn't arrogance, It's the quiet assurance that you can handle new situations because you've built the habit of figuring things out. When you've trained yourself to learn continuously, you no longer fear the unknown. You see it as an opportunity to grow. This mindset gives you a significant advantage, especially in competitive environments where change is constant. While others panic when faced with something unfamiliar, you adapt and move forward. Self-education is not just about acquiring knowledge, it's about applying it. Information without action is just entertainment. Highly effective people seek knowledge they can use. They don't just read about leadership, they practice it. They don't just learn about productivity, they implement the techniques. They understand that mastery comes from doing, not just knowing. Learning something once is not enough. Repetition and application are what turn information into skill. This is why many successful people reread books, revisit old notes, and review lessons multiple times. They know that the first time you learn something, you might only absorb part of it. Each review deepens your understanding and strengthens your ability to use it. Another aspect of lifelong learning is learning from others. Mentors, colleagues, and even competitors can be valuable teachers. Observing how others approach problems, make decisions, and handle success or failure can reveal lessons you won't find in books. Asking questions, listening carefully, and being open to feedback are all part of self-education. Effective people don't assume they have all the answers. They know they can learn something from almost everyone, and they remain humble enough to do so. Failures and mistakes are also powerful teachers for those willing to learn from them. Many people experience a setback and focus only on the disappointment. Highly effective people experience the same setbacks but look for the lesson inside them. They analyze what went wrong, what they could have done differently, and how they can avoid repeating the mistake. This mindset transforms failure from an ending into a stepping stone. Over time, the lessons from failures can be even more valuable than the lessons from success. Lifelong learning also opens doors you didn't know existed. Sometimes the knowledge you gain in one area unexpectedly benefits another. You might study negotiation for your business career and find it improves your personal relationships. You might learn a new language and discover opportunities to work in new markets. The more you learn, the more possibilities appear. And because you've developed the skill of learning itself, you can pivot into new roles, industries, or projects without starting from zero. The commitment to never stop learning also protects you from complacency. Complacency is dangerous because it makes you believe that what you know today will be enough tomorrow. In reality, the moment you stop learning is the moment you start falling behind. Competitors keep learning. The market keeps changing. Technology keeps advancing. If you stand still, you're moving backward. Continuous learning keeps you moving forward, even if it's just a small step each day. Those small steps add up to massive progress over time. What's powerful about this habit is that it compounds. The more you learn, the easier it becomes to learn more. Knowledge builds on itself, creating connections that make new information easier to absorb. Skills learned in one area often apply to others. The discipline of study strengthens your ability to focus and persist. Over the years, this creates an advantage so significant that it's difficult for others to catch up. You've built a deep, wide foundation of knowledge, skills, and understanding that supports everything you do. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. The value you bring to your work, your relationships, and your life is directly tied to the person you are becoming. Jobs can change, industries can evolve, economies can shift, but the skills, discipline, mindset, and habits you build in yourself stay with you wherever you go. If you focus only on doing your job well without improving yourself, you risk becoming stagnant. You might perform the same tasks year after year, but your value in the marketplace and in life will not grow at the same pace as someone who is deliberately investing in their personal development. Highly effective people understand that their job is just one part of their life, but their personal growth influences every part. When they work on themselves, their thinking, their communication, their resilience, their knowledge, they automatically become better at their work because they've become better equipped as individuals. Working on yourself begins with self-awareness. You have to know where you are strong and where you are weak. You have to be honest about your habits, your attitudes, and your mindset. Many people avoid this kind of self-reflection because it's uncomfortable, but without it, improvement is guesswork. Self-awareness allows you to target your growth where it will make the most difference. If you discover that you procrastinate, you can work on discipline. If you realize you struggle with communication, you can learn to speak more clearly and listen more attentively. Every improvement you make in yourself translates into greater effectiveness in every role you play. A key part of working on yourself is building skills that go beyond the technical requirements of your job. Technical skills are important, but they can be outdated by technology, replaced by automation, or matched by someone willing to work for less. What sets you apart are the personal skills: leadership, creativity, problem-solving, adaptability, emotional intelligence. These are the qualities that make you valuable in any environment. If you invest time in developing them, you'll find that opportunities begin to find you. People notice when you handle stress calmly, when you think clearly under pressure, when you inspire and motivate others, when you find solutions others miss. These qualities are the result of deliberate self-development, not chance. Your mindset is another critical area of personal growth. The way you think determines the way you act, and the way you act determines the results you get. If your mindset is negative, fearful, or limited, your actions will reflect that. If your mindset is positive, confident, and growth-oriented, your actions will reflect that too. Working on yourself means feeding your mind with ideas, perspectives, and beliefs that strengthen rather than weaken you. It means challenging your own limiting beliefs and replacing them with empowering ones. It means surrounding yourself with people who uplift you and challenge you to rise higher. Your environment plays a huge role in shaping your mindset, so part of working on yourself is choosing that environment wisely. Another aspect of working on yourself is your physical well-being. Your body is the vehicle through which you experience life and do your work. If you neglect it, everything else suffers. Effective people treat their health as a priority, not an afterthought. They understand that energy is a competitive advantage. If you're constantly tired, stressed, or unwell, you can't perform at your best. Regular exercise, proper nutrition, and adequate rest are not luxuries, they are investments in your ability to function at a high level. Working harder on yourself means recognizing that your physical health is part of your professional and personal success. Discipline is one of the most valuable results of working on yourself. Discipline means doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. It's easy to be motivated when you're excited. It's harder to keep going when the excitement fades. That's where discipline comes in. The more you work on yourself, the more you train your ability to follow through on your commitments regardless of mood. This discipline becomes a habit, and habits shape your destiny. A disciplined person can be trusted to deliver consistently, and that reliability is worth more than talent without discipline. Working harder on yourself also means being willing to learn from others. No matter how skilled or experienced you are, there is always someone who knows something you don't. Humility is a key part of personal growth. It allows you to receive feedback without defensiveness, to seek out mentors, and to model yourself after people who have achieved what you want to achieve. Highly effective people are not threatened by the success of others. They are inspired by it. They study it, learn from it, and adapt it to their own journey. Personal growth requires consistency. You can't read one book, attend one seminar, or take one course and expect lasting change. It's an ongoing process. The person you are today should be noticeably better than the person you were a year ago. And the person you are a year from now should be better still. This requires daily effort. Reading for 30 minutes, reflecting on your actions, practicing a skill, setting and reviewing goals. Small daily actions compound over time into massive improvement. The results might not be obvious day by day, but over years, they become undeniable. When you work on yourself, you also increase your adaptability. Life is unpredictable. Jobs can disappear, markets can collapse, technology can shift overnight. The more skills, knowledge, and personal strength you have, the easier it is to pivot and thrive in new circumstances. People who only work on their jobs often feel lost when change comes because they've tied their value to one role. People who work on themselves carry their value with them. They can adapt because they've built the mindset and skills to handle new challenges. This habit also has a multiplying effect. When you improve yourself, you influence those around you. You become an example of growth, discipline, and excellence. Colleagues, friends, and family notice the changes, and some will be inspired to grow themselves. Your personal development can create a ripple effect, improving not just your own life, but the lives of those connected to you. You might not even realize the full extent of your influence, but every step you take toward becoming your best self creates possibilities for others. Ultimately, working harder on yourself than on your job is about understanding that you are the most important project you will ever work on. Your income, your opportunities, your relationships, and your satisfaction in life are all influenced by the person you are becoming. You can't control every external factor, but you can control how much you grow, how much you learn, how disciplined you are, and how much value you bring. That investment pays dividends for the rest of your life, regardless of what changes in the world around you. Take full responsibility, no blaming, no excuses. One of the defining traits of highly effective people is their refusal to hand over control of their lives to outside forces. They understand that as long as you are blaming something or someone else for your results, you are giving away your power to change those results. When you say, "It's the economy," or "It's my boss," or "It's the weather," you're admitting that your life is at the mercy of conditions you can't control. That kind of thinking keeps you stuck. Taking full responsibility means accepting that while you can't control every circumstance, you can control how you respond, the decisions you make, and the actions you take. It means owning your choices, your habits, and ultimately your results. When you take responsibility, you stop waiting for someone to rescue you or for circumstances to magically improve. You stop telling yourself that one day things will get better and start working on making them better today. You shift from being a passenger in your own life to being the driver. This shift changes everything because now you're operating from a place of empowerment rather than helplessness. You begin to look for solutions instead of excuses. You ask, "What can I do right now to move forward?" instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" That change in questions leads to a change in actions, and a change in actions leads to a change in results. Blame is attractive in the moment because it relieves you of the discomfort of responsibility. It's easier to say, "I failed because my manager didn't give me the resources," than to admit, "I failed because I didn't adapt." It's easier to say, "I'm not in shape because of my genetics," than to admit, "I haven't been consistent with my exercise." But while blaming feels easier in the short term, it's destructive in the long term because it leaves you powerless. If someone else is the cause of your problem, then only they can fix it. If the weather, the government, your upbringing, or bad luck is to blame, you've just decided that your life is out of your hands. Responsibility might feel heavier at first, but it's the only way to take back control. Excuses are another form of surrendering responsibility. They often sound reasonable. "I didn't have enough time," "I wasn't ready," "I'm too tired," but they are still a way of avoiding ownership. Highly effective people recognize that everyone has obstacles, but not everyone handles them the same way. The difference lies in whether you see those obstacles as final barriers or as challenges to be overcome. When you remove excuses from your vocabulary, you force yourself to find a way forward. You stop focusing on why it can't be done and start asking how it can be done. Taking full responsibility also means being honest with yourself. It's possible to avoid blaming others yet still deceive yourself about your role in a situation. You might tell yourself that external conditions made it impossible to succeed when in reality you didn't prepare enough, follow through enough, or persist enough. Self-honesty is uncomfortable because it forces you to confront your own shortcomings, but it's also freeing because once you see the truth, you can change it. Denial keeps you stuck. Honesty sets you free. This mindset applies not only to failures but to successes as well. When you succeed, take responsibility for that too. Acknowledge your hard work, your preparation, your persistence. Don't dismiss your achievements as just luck. While luck can play a role in timing, it's rarely the sole reason for long-term success. By owning your successes, you reinforce the belief that your actions have an impact, which strengthens your confidence and motivates you to keep going. Another benefit of taking responsibility is that it builds trust. People respect and trust those who own their mistakes, admit when they're wrong, and take action to correct it. In contrast, those who constantly shift blame or make excuses quickly lose credibility. When you take responsibility, you demonstrate integrity. You show that your word means something, that you're dependable, and that you can be counted on in difficult situations. This trust becomes a powerful asset in both personal and professional relationships. Taking full responsibility also requires you to take control of your attitude. You can't always choose what happens to you, but you can always choose your response. Two people can face the same setback: a lost job, a failed project, a rejection, and one will spiral into negativity, while the other looks for the lesson and the opportunity hidden in the challenge. That difference is responsibility in action. When you own your attitude, you refuse to let circumstances dictate your emotional state. You decide how you will interpret events and how you will respond, and that choice shapes your future. Part of responsibility is also preparation. Many problems that people blame on bad luck could have been avoided with better preparation. If you show up unprepared for a presentation and it goes poorly, that's not the fault of the audience or the venue. If you run out of money because you didn't budget, that's not the fault of the economy. Taking responsibility means looking ahead, anticipating challenges, and doing what you can to be ready for them. Preparation doesn't eliminate every problem, but it greatly reduces the number of crises you face and improves your ability to handle the ones you can't avoid. One of the most challenging aspects of responsibility is accepting it in areas where you have limited control. It's easy to say, "This isn't my fault, so I'm not responsible for fixing it." But highly effective people look at those situations and say, "Even if it's not my fault, I'm still responsible for my response." For example, you might not be responsible for a downturn in your industry, but you are responsible for how you adapt. You might not be responsible for a difficult customer, but you are responsible for how you handle them. This perspective keeps you in a position of power no matter what happens around you. Taking full responsibility is not about self-blame. It's not about taking on guilt for things outside your control. It's about owning your role, your choices, and your ability to act. It's about recognizing that the quality of your life is largely shaped by the decisions you make daily. If you don't like your results, you can change them by changing your actions. If you want better outcomes, you have to become the kind of person who produces them. This requires humility to admit when you've been wrong, courage to make changes, and persistence to keep going even when it's hard. The habit of responsibility also trains you to focus on what you can control rather than wasting time and energy on what you can't. Complaining about things beyond your influence drains your energy without improving your situation. Redirecting that energy toward actions you can take is far more productive. Over time, this focus creates a sense of agency, the belief that you can influence your circumstances rather than being a victim of them. This belief is one of the most powerful drivers of success because it fuels consistent action. People who believe they can make a difference will keep trying. Those who believe they're powerless will stop before they even start. When you remove blaming and excuses from your life, you might find that fewer people around you operate the same way. Some will be uncomfortable with your refusal to join in complaining or pointing fingers. Others might feel threatened because your attitude exposes their own lack of responsibility. That's fine. Responsibility is not about fitting in. It's about standing out in the best way possible. By holding yourself accountable, you set a standard that others may choose to rise to. And over time, you attract people who share that standard.